anything beyond the radar's line of sight will not be seen. This is one reason why attacking aircraft fly under radar when attacking a target. They fly under the curvature restrictions. If the Earth was flat, then there would be no radar restrictions, and one dish could scan the sky for hundreds, if not thousands of miles, depending on radiation limitations. This does not work on a sphere, however, and that's why you have to have radar stations placed just a few miles apart, 20 or 30 miles apart, so that they can keep monitoring things. You'll notice that the National Weather Service, if you look at maps online, they just go down the Central Valley or the Western Valley, the Willamette Valley of Oregon, and down the Central Valley of California, and up in the mountains. And there are always probably 2 hours drive time between the two dishes. So, okay. Let's see. Yet another thing comes to mind. What about satellites? Satellites are used many times for communication. Satellites are also line-of-sight technology, and they're situated thousands of miles in space, which means that the line of sight that is in line of sight for the whole Earth, okay, to a limit. If the Earth was flat, there would be no need for communication satellites because the whole world would be line of sight. If, however, you've been subscribed to the service that employs satellite delivery services to you, they give information on and some special considerations. All communication satellites, for instance, rotate along an equatorial line. In other words, they follow the equator in space, and they travel fast enough to equal the spin of the Earth, because the Earth does spin, and otherwise the satellites would spin out of orbit. These satellites are placed in longitudinal lines, too, along the equator. This is an ideal situation, or the ideal situation would be for your satellite provider to placing a satellite right on your longitudinal line. In other words, we live at about 123 degrees west longitude, so if they put and there is one quite close on the equator at 123 something degrees, 122 degrees, I believe. And so basically we just have to point our dish south. We don't have to point it southeast or southwest. Just south. For instance, Salem, Oregon, like I said, is about 123 degrees west longitude. So having a satellite in space above 123 longitude would be premium. Next, we have to figure out what angle we need to place the satellite at, giving our position in order to get the signal. Salem, Oregon is on the 45th parallel. I don't live in Salem. I just use it for reference purposes. And the 45th parallel is roughly halfway between the equator and the North Pole. Okay, North Pole's at 90, the equator's at 0. So 45 is right in the center. Now this means that the satellite will have to be aimed, the dish will have to be aimed 45 degrees above the horizon to get the signal, right? Because if it's on the equator, it's at 0. So things change as you move farther north. The farther north one gets, the less the satellite angle. For example, living in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, you'd have to point the dish down. Prudhoe Bay is at 70.7 degrees north latitude. You'd have to point the dish down at 19.3 degrees from the horizon, because the satellite is farther down in the sky because you're farther north. And I did these calculations for Salem, Oregon, for Mexico City, and for Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. And Mexico City, you're almost pointing it straight up. You're pointing it up at 67 degrees. So, anyway, that kind of tells you that the Earth is not flat, because if it was flat, then yes, you might have to point your satellites a little at an angle, but not. And you'd only need one satellite if the world was flat. Plus, if there's a dome, how are you going to get the satellite out into space? So I guess all of us satellite users are somehow magically getting our satellite signals, because there's no satellites out there to bounce off of. And I don't know. The flat Earth just leaves a whole bunch of questions to be answered, and they're not answerable because the Earth isn't flat. Now, when you look at other planets in the solar system, all those planets are spheroid. Isn't that interesting? And we can see them rotate. Now, I can see right now, they're just circles. But no, they rotate. you can see the big spot on Jupiter, and then after a while it's not there anymore because the planet is rotating. Okay? The same with some other planets. With Mars, you could, if you're looking at a telescope, through a telescope at Mars, you can see some features on it, and a little while later, those features aren't there anymore. Okay? So they should. Now, if it seemed that the Earth was flat, and the other planets should be too, right? I mean, if God's going to make a flat Earth, He would probably make flat planets, right? Flat Saturn, flat Jupiter, flat Moon. And how come the Moon's not flat? The Earth is. Flat Ariel, flat Diana. You know, all the moons of the different big planets. Flat Europa, flat Triton. You know, but no, a lot of these things move, turn, and we can see it. Okay, but not the Earth. Okay, the Earth has got to be on a flat plate. And besides, this is all a projection from the center of the Earth, according to the flat earthers. So, you know, everything's FUBAR, right? Now, with the exception of Phobos and Deimos that orbit Mars, almost all the planets and moons are spheroid, and all the moons orbit orbit the spheroid planets, and some of the moons even spin. If the planets and their moons are all projections on a supposed dome that covers the Earth, then how come we can look at them through telescopes and see them enlarged? With projections only on a projector, with projections, only the projector can enlarge an image, not a telescope being used by user. Interesting, huh? Okay. Now, who do we blame this on? Flat earthers are basing this all on a NASA conspiracy. Now, folks, trust me, I have no use for NASA. I don't like them. I think they are conspiratorial. I think they're trying to convince us that there's life on their planets when there's not. They keep hedging forward towards finding this and that, only to be disproved every time. But they keep going, folks, and they're trying to convince us that there's life on Mars. That there's life on Mars, and there has to be life on other planets. And that's when the Space Brothers are going to show up and go, yep, where are that life on other planets? And they're going to take over the world, and they're going to enslave humankind. Okay, or they're going to be a major component of the end days prophetic scenarios. Let's put it that way. Okay, I do not like NASA. Where the moon landings are concerned, I'm on the fence. I've read a lot of compelling evidence that we didn't go. I've also read evidence that we did go. So as long as it doesn't matter and the scope of salvation, I really don't care right now. Other things bother me. Supposedly several NASA scientists, numbering in double digits, higher double digits, have died over the last few years. Now, were these men that were going to expose the truth and they were off by NASA or the NSA or whatever other super secret police force we have here in the States? I don't know. Let's see. But I do know that there are well-known Christian researchers out there that are using this NASA conspiracy to promote their own good, to promote their own theories, and my theory is that they're doing it to sell more books and go to more conferences so they don't have to work for a living. Traditional work like the rest of us that have to go out and earn a living and a paycheck from sometimes not so nice employers. My present employer not mentioned there. Seriously. But you know what? Sooner or later, the truth is going to come out, and that truth will come out when Yeshua comes back to earth. He's going to put an end to all this garbage. He's going to show what's right and reveal what's wrong. And if there are believers out there, or people that claim to be believers, and they're promoting lies and they're showing deception in order for personal gain, then shame on them. And you know they're going to get what's coming to them. You know that's a simple fact. A lot of us, a lot of people, humans, I'm speaking, they'll do stuff as long as they can get away with it. But when they know for sure that they can't get away with it, they don't do it anymore. For instance, When there was a death penalty that was actively pursued and executed here in the United States and different states, people in those states that committed crimes, well, the death rate went down for murders. Okay, because they knew that if they murdered somebody, they were going to get electrocuted, put in a gas chamber, hung, or shot. Right? You know that's going to happen to you. It's going to be a powerful dissuader for you to do something. Well, those of us who know Yahweh, not just know about Him, but know Him and trust Him, know that there's going to be a penalty for people that are pulling scams, the people that are out there deceiving people on purpose to make money or to gain power. And the Scripture seems to allude that for now they'll be allowed to pursue their folly. And you know, if they weren't deceiving people, it wouldn't bother me. But there are baby Christians out there, and Christians that, you know, for whatever reason refuse to go out and study and research and know the truth and a firm foundation, who get fooled by these people. And that doesn't really matter to me that these people that are deceived and fooled, you know, by these sharks, by these wolves in sheep's clothing, and these tares that grow up amongst the wheat. It doesn't bother me when they're not hurting anybody, but you know, you tell one person a lie, and they believe it. It's not good. You know, Scripture says that teachers have to be careful because they're going to be judged more highly, or more severely, I should say, because of what they teach. And I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of some of these guys that are out there trying to promote things to gain fame and power and money and everything else. And a day's coming when Yeshua is going to come back, and you know, all of a sudden they're going to, the ones that will have the gonads to walk up to Yeshua and say, "Hey, what about me?" Because, you know, if you're doing wrong, you know you're doing wrong, and that would definitely prevent a lot of people from going up to Yeshua and say, "What about me?" You know, and those are going to be the people. He says, "I didn't know you." You know, and I don't think he's just going to say that. I think he's going to tell them why he doesn't know them. And it's not going to be a pretty day that day. You know, it's really not. And, you know, I sit here at this microphone once a week, and I say what the Lord wants me to say. And, you know, frankly, if I had just one person listening every week and I ministered to them, and I've done everything I'm supposed to do, more people, better. But I'm not going to go out and listener shop by telling lies and deception. Like the Hebrew National commercial, I answer to a higher authority, and I would rather piss off people by not doing what they want me to do because it's not righteousness than I would to piss off God. Scripture says that don't fear the person that can throw your rear end into prison, but fear him who can throw your soul into hell. You know, these charlatans are small change when it comes to Yahweh. And I would rather make Yahweh proud and pleased than to make these schlemiels pleased. But folks, my exhortation is that if you're falling for this flat Earth stuff, give it consideration, please. If I didn't do enough research for you, do your own research. Okay. Get into your Scripture for goodness sake and study what it means. When they're using certain Scriptures to promote their ideas, their heresies, look at those Scriptures. Look at each word. You can go into blueletterbible.org and find a verse, and you could look up each word. If it's in the Old Testament or the Tanakh, you can look it up in Hebrew. If it's in the Brit Hadashah or the New Testament, you can find it in Greek. You can look up the original intent of the writers and the author, which is Yahweh, and find out exactly what he meant. Because I got to admit, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to Scripture. A lot of things aren't clear. But, man, if you get in there and you do a word search in Hebrew, you're going to find a lot of stuff. You may even find out that some of the stuff you're hearing in church is wrong, which is another enchilada that you'll have to, you know, cook up when you find that. But just realize that people are faulty and that nobody's perfect, okay? But question everything, okay? Just question everything and look it up. And see for yourself what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And if people are leading in the wrong way, then cast them away, man. Just cast them away and start cleaving to people that are telling the truth. And if you're a teacher, if you're a researcher,